Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. In today's video, I'll be using some stencils from Pretty Pink Posh. I know I don't use stencils very often. I have this addiction to pattern paper, so I do tend to overlook them. Stencils are easy to use and perfect for customizing your background since you can select whatever colors you want to work with. Now, one thing I find very useful with stencils is the mini stencil mat from Waffle Flower. This is the mini size. They do have a regular size, and I own both. I mostly use the mini size since it's easier to fit on screen when I'm recording videos. The first stencil I'll be using is called Layer Bokeh. There are 3 different stencils in the set, and they are labeled at the bottom A, B, and C. And I may be starting out of order. I'm using stencil C right now. I have my cardstock and my stencil pressed all the way up into the corner of the stencil mat. You can also use some tape to make sure your stencil and the paper doesn't move. This stencil mat is very helpful preventing that movement, but just as a reassurance, you can always use some tacky tape. I'm using Catherine Pooler inks. I selected 3 colors that I think look really pretty together. The pink is called Sparkling Berry. Next I have Bay Breeze, this really pretty teal color. So I'm currently working with Stencil B. Just set that aside and grab Stencil A. The ink color is Cove Blue. So now I'll add just those tiny little dots. And you can add as little or as much ink as you want for all of your little circles. Once you get all of your ink down, it's always fun to reveal the finished look. And always I dip my finger right into my ink pad. So remove this stencil and look at that fun finished look. And the stencil mat is so easy to clean, I just use a baby wipe. I was skeptical when I first tried it. I thought all of that ink would stain on the white silicone, but it doesn't, not even a little bit. So I did go and trim down that panel, 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. I will be layering it on some dark blue cardstock. Next, I'll add this labeled die cut piece in pink, and this is from Pretty Pink Posh's Fall Circles Coordinating Dies. I have part of it hanging off the edge on the left, and I just flipped over that panel to trim it off since I want it flush all the way on the left side. So I layered that panel on the dark blue cardstock, put some ATG tape on the back, and put my card front onto a card base. All of my cards in this video are American Standard A2 size, 4 1/4 inches by 5 1/2 inches. For the image on my card, I'll be using the Build a Gift die set. Lots of different dies to assemble some fun presents and gifts. The larger one, I used some white shimmer cardstock, and it has that fun diagonal stitch detail on the back. I used some teal cardstock for the ribbon and the bow. For the larger bow, you can use just that solid piece, but for a little extra detail, it also has the die that separates all those pieces for the bow, so it gives it more of a dimensional look. This will be a great set for birthdays, Christmas. You could use it for graduation, baby showers, any celebration cards. And I'll just glue that to the present using some liquid adhesive. The second gift has a fun polka dot look. I used some white shimmer cardstock for the background, so that's what you'll see with all the polka dots. I do have my acrylic block sitting on top right now, just for that extra weight while the glue adheres. I'll use some more of the white shimmer cardstock for the ribbon and the bow on top of the polka dot gift. Now I'll glue both of those gifts onto that pink label die cut. For the polka dot gift, I am putting some scrap cardstock on the right side just to keep it level with the other gift. For this sentiment, I've already stamped this out. It's your special day. And this sentiment is included on Pretty Pink Posh's Celebration Scripts stamp set. On the very right side of the sentiment, I did cut that at an angle just for some extra interest. Before adhering it to the card, I will put a scrap piece of cardstock on the very right side where it goes off of that pink label die cut. Then for a finishing touch, I'll use some sparkling clear jewels from Pretty Pink Posh. Put a couple of them in the upper right-hand corner and a few around the gifts and the sentiment. I'm using an embellishment wand to help pick these up. And it seems like every one I pick up is upside down, so I do have to flip it over. I'll first add a small drop of liquid adhesive and then press the jewels in place. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. For the second card, I added a little more pink to the background using just some of the extra ink that was on the blending brush. For card number 2, the stencil I'm using is Layered Presents. Again, it does have 3 pieces. And just to save time on the video, I've already done the stenciling off screen. I cut down that panel so I'll be able to use it on 2 cards. When I was using this stencil, I did each of the colors at an angle, so that way one row has a variety of colors in it. For the pattern paper, this is from Sunny Studio. This is their Surprise Party collection. Cut out a small panel of the green tone-on-tone stars. Layered both of those pieces on some white shimmer cardstock. I'll put some ATG tape on the back and add my card front onto a card base. Next, I'll add a stitch strip die cut piece. I use some more Sunny Studio pattern paper. It's a blue polka dot tone-on-tone design. I have some double-sided tape on the back. I used the 1/8 inch size, but I don't think it was quite wide enough, so I did put a little bit of liquid adhesive as well. This strip is longer than my card, so I'll just flip it over and trim off the extra. Next, I'll add a little label die cut. This is from the Halloween Circles coordinating dies. I used some white shimmer cardstock for the main piece. Then I cut out a second one using some scrap cardstock. Just trim that scrap piece down, adhere some on the back side of the top and the bottom, leaving a little gap in the center, and that way when I glue it to my card, it won't have that noticeable bump from that stitch strip die cut. So I'll put some liquid adhesive on the back, make sure I'm lining it up so that strip will go right in the little gap area, and adhere it to my card. I'm using the same Build-A-Gift die set. I've already assembled my pink present, and this time I use the small bow that's included. For the sentiment, I'll be stamping it directly onto the card. This is Birthday Wishes. I have everything all set up in my Mini Misty just to make sure I get a nice solid impression. And I am inking this up just a few times. This sentiment is part of Pretty Pink Posh's Simple Sentiment stamp sets. It's one of my favorites. For a little extra detail, I'm using a white gel pen and adding some highlights onto the bow and the present. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. I decided not to add any bling. That way I have a couple of birthday cards I can mail without paying additional postage. For card design number 3, the stencil is called Leaves Background. This time it's a single stencil, but I love this leaf background. I'll be creating a fall card, but you could use this for any season. Just change up the colors. I have my cardstock and my stencil all set up in my mini stencil mat. I selected a few fall color inks. I have Catching Rays, Ginger, and Icing on the Cake. And this time I'm only adding ink in the very center of my cardstock piece. Put a little bit of each color all around. Now I'll go back in and add a little more of the Catching Rays. Felt like some of that yellow disappeared once I added the brown. Using some of the leftover ink, this is from the Ginger color, brushed it all over the stenciled image just to tone down some of the white outlines. Using the Stitch Foliage die set, I cut out a few fall leaves, basically using the same colors as the ink. So I have the brown, the yellow, and the orange. I'll put some foam dimension just on the upper portion of the leaves, and then liquid adhesive on the bottom. Put my little maple leaf down first, then my yellow leaf off to the left, and then finally the brown one underneath those. This would be a great design for a Thanksgiving card. I like to make seasonal cards, fall, winter, spring, and summer. I give cards every month to a local retirement home, so it's always fun to have some seasonal cards. For a little extra detail, I'll add some gold metallic paint splatter to the background. Nothing fancy, but this is a very simple way to add that beautiful shine. Once that paint is all dry, I'll layer this panel on some rust-colored pearlescent cardstock. Then I'll put some more ATG tape on the back and add my card front onto a card base. I always want my cards to be good quality, so I use Accent Opaque Digital 120-pound cardstock. I purchased it from a local paper store, but you can also buy reams or even a case on Amazon. And I always have a link for it in the description box below. It's very sturdy. I know for some people they find that too sturdy. You can also get the 100-pound, and that's really nice as well. Plus it's inexpensive. For the sentiment, I'm using the Falling Leaves stamp and coordinating die set from Pretty Pink Posh. I've already stamped and cut out the word autumn. For the rest of the sentiment, the word greeting, I'll stamp it directly onto the card underneath the word autumn. And I did use my mini Misty to make sure I got a good solid impression. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. I know it's only July, but I couldn't resist making a couple of fall cards. Now moving on to card design number 4. I love the layered bouquet set so much I decided to use it again, but this time I'm only using one color, and I also have a very similar colored cardstock. I have this really pretty light blue cardstock, and I'm using Catherine Pooler's Stone Blue ink color for all 3 layers. This stencil set is very versatile. You could use it all year round since it's really just a bunch of circles in the background. I'm a hobbyist photographer, and I love creating the pretty bokeh background for my pictures. And this stencil set reminds me of those pretty backgrounds. So I'm on my final layer, adding the smallest circles. Then I'll remove that stencil and reveal that beautiful background. And I've gone ahead and trimmed this down 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. I'll be creating a little scene on my card. I used some green cardstock and the Scallop Border die set from Pretty Pink Posh. This is for the grass, so I have a little hillside. Then the blue with the pretty bouquet design in the background is the sky. And I'm picturing all of those little circles being maybe bubbles blowing in the background. It's summertime, kids love bubbles after all. Using the flat pinwheel die set from Pretty Pink Posh, I'll add a couple of fun pinwheels to the background. Have a nice bright yellow and also a pretty red. I used some pattern paper for the larger pieces, and these are both from Sunny Studio. For the very center of the pinwheels, I used some silver holographic cardstock, so it has that really pretty sparkle. Just glue those down using liquid adhesive. For the pinwheel sticks, I used the Stitch Strip die set from Pretty Pink Posh and also some white shimmer cardstock. And I only need small pieces since most of it won't be visible on the card. For the yellow pinwheel, it'll be tucked behind the hill, and then the red pinwheel will be more up front. Not sure anyone's ever seen giant pinwheels sticking in the ground. I'm kind of treating them more like windmills instead of pinwheels, but I still really like how this card turned out. I think it's fun, and it has really bright summery colors. So I'll add the little stick for the red pinwheel. And I will pop up both of the main portion of the pinwheel using some foam dimension. Once I have good coverage on the back, I'll remove the release paper and adhere both of the pinwheels to my card. I especially love that bright yellow against the blue background. And since I stuck with basically primary colors, this is a great gender neutral card. Next, I'll adhere the red pinwheel, and they'll overlap just slightly. Just trying to figure out what direction I wanted to have it. For this sentiment, I've already stamped this out. This is from the Simple Sentiment stamp set, just saying hello. I love to have lots of general sentiment cards. I did put some foam dimension on the back side, and I'm leaving just a small gap where it goes over the yellow pinwheel stick. And I'll put some scrap cardstock there. That way there isn't one area that sags on that sentiment. Remove the release paper, put a little bit of liquid adhesive on that scrap cardstock area, and adhere it underneath my yellow pinwheel. Then to finish off my little pinwheel scene card, I'll be using 2 stamp sets from Pretty Pink Posh. They're Blissful Butterflies and Darling Dragonflies. On the Darling Dragonflies, I'm just using the grass, and on the Blissful Butterflies, I'm using the tiny silhouette butterfly in the little flight path. I've stamped out the grass 3 times and cut it out using the coordinating dies. I'll pop up one of them using some foam dimension. The one all the way to the left, I did trim it down slightly. Then I'll add one more final patch of grass. Now I'll pull out my mini Misty so I could stamp the butterfly and the little flight path. Don't want to risk trying to stamp directly onto my basically finished card. I'll do the flight path first. Has this fun little stitched swervy design. Use some black ink for that. And I missed one part, so good thing I didn't try to do it without my mini MISTI. And then I'll stamp the little silhouette butterfly. So it's a teeny tiny little butterfly. And there are coordinating dies for both of these stamp sets. For a final finishing touch, I'll add some detail to the pinwheels using a white gel pen. So there is my finished card, and again, I did make two using this design. I love how this card turned out. Those pinwheels are so much fun. And Pretty Pink Posh does have a 3D version of the pinwheels. I prefer the flat, that way I can easily mail the card without paying additional postage. Now here's another look at the 8 cards I made using some stencils, dies, and stamps from Pretty Pink Posh. It was so much fun trying out some of their stencils, and a good reminder that I don't always have to use pattern paper, although I did sneak in a little bit of pattern paper on a couple of the cards. If you are interested in any of the products I used in this video, I do have links provided in the description box below. Pretty Pink Posh has so many fun products, and I love that they're local since they're located here in Washington State. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.